because the tube was starting to erupt. I was really thankful for him. I was thankful that he was on shift, and I'm thankful that he saved my life. I decided to operate on you tonight because if we left it till tomorrow, it would have been a different story. Hello guys, and welcome back to my visual diaries. Oh, it's nice to be back behind the camera lens. And if you are new here, I'm Maryam, the chosen one, and thank you for stopping by in this video. This video today is part of a 5-part series. Just to give you a little backstory, if you are new, I have had 7 pregnancies and 6 pregnancies. Oh, why am I saying 7? Does it mean that I might be having another one anytime soon? That came out way too natural. Right, so I've had 6 pregnancies and 4 miscarriages. I've got 2 beautiful daughters. And I decided to just go into detail and just share each of my experiences. So that is what this video is about. Now, if you've just come across this video, I have done a previous video, which would be the first part of the 5-part series, and that's me discussing my first miscarriage. So be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell notification so that you do not miss another video. Okay, so let's get back into the video now. We've done all of the beginning jazz. Rightio, so in the last video you've seen that I discussed my first miscarriage, and obviously I couldn't remember some of the details, but then, you know, after you finish recording, little details start flooding back, and you start remembering little nuggets that you're like, oh, I should have added that to the video. But it is what it is. I've managed to share as much as I could. So we're going to go on to my next pregnancy, and that would be my first pregnancy after winter May. So I had Lily May first, and then I had my first miscarriage, and then I had winter May, and then I had an ectopic pregnancy. So that year I was renewing my vows, and obviously it wouldn't be part of the plan to get pregnant because obviously I was revamping and remixing my original wedding dress. So I thought it'd be interesting to wear my same wedding dress, but just change it up a little bit and wear it again. So it wasn't my plan to be pregnant because obviously I would have to, probably wouldn't even fit into the dress. So anyway, it was a Saturday, and my family members came round, and I don't know if I would say I had symptoms because my boobs were tender, but I'm going to give you a little nugget. I had just had a breast reaugmentation done. So obviously I'm in the healing process. I had that surgery done, not realising I was even pregnant. So, you know, when they give you the tick-off form and they're like, oh, when was your last period? And when are you pregnant and all this stuff? I ticked no. But obviously I'm here to tell the tale. Nothing didn't happen to me. But obviously you're not meant to have major surgery like that if you're pregnant, as everyone is fully aware. So obviously my boobs probably were bigger or worse, sore or tender, but I wouldn't have noticed them signs and symptoms because, like I said, I had the breast augmentation. So my cousins came round, and I was going to Trafford Centre that day to Marks and Spencer's to get remeasured for many boobs. And I say reaugmentation because if you didn't know, this would be my second one. I had my first one like 2007. Anyway, so I've gone and done that, and before I left, I noticed when I went to the toilet, there was like some pink, like, you know, normal cervical mucus discharge, but it was slightly pink, just ever so slight. And obviously this is TMI, guys, so if you don't like TMI for all the men, skip forward or just skip the whole video in its entirety. Just skip it. Anyway, so I wiped and I seen that there was some pink mucus. So I said, oh, I'm coming on. And now I've got PCSO, so there isn't really a set time that my period comes really. I can say around about, I can have an idea, but not really though, because it just varies. So I can't say I was late or I was early, or I really don't know. I think I was on cycle day 29 maybe. So I thought, right, pop a panty liner on as you do, because I'm going to come on. So we're in Trafford Centre and we're doing what we're doing, and my belly was cramping me, and I thought, oh God, it's definitely coming down. Got home thinking, right, I'm going to need to put a pad on because the breeder cramping that I was experiencing, I would need to put a pad on. Went to the toilet, there was zero. Nothing there. And you know what's so funny? Every single time I felt the need to take a test, it's purely been a gut instinct. Because really, that wasn't enough to go off, because sometimes in my cycle, I might spot like a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, a little bit next day, and then it might come. So that doesn't really mean much to me. But it just so happened, I went into my drawer and I just so happened to have one clear blue. I didn't even know if it was in date. One clear blue digital test, just one. And so I went, and this time the husband's gone to Alexandra Park with the dog and the children, and gone for like a little evening walk and play in the park. So I went and I peed on the stick. Now, bearing in mind it was in the evening, don't know, 7, 8, something like that. So I've peed on the stick, and it comes up that you're pregnant. I said, huh? So I called husband. This time I'm shaking, I'm thinking, how the frig am I going to get in my dress? What the hell? So I've called husband, and I was like, oh, babe. And I think he just knew. Oh, God, let's pray a call. 1 second. 1 second, guys. I love a little story time. It's prayer time. I'm not trying to stay on here too long with you guys. Anywho, so I called him. Do you know what? It's such nice memories, even though it's like a bittersweet and it's sad. But when I think back, now I'm really thinking back into it, it was a nice experience, but then a not very nice experience. So I called him, and I think he kind of knew, and I was like, oh, babe. It was like, he didn't know I was taking the test, by the way. It was like, I think I know what you're going to say. I said, where's the kids? He goes, here. I said, don't say it out loud. Oh my God, I'm pregnant. He's like, oh my God, I knew it, yeah. So then, obviously, Lily May is old enough to understand, and she doesn't like if we keep secrets. She had a cob on, because she knew something weren't right. She said to Daddy in the park, Mummy's having a baby, itchy. And he was like, no, what made you say that? And she got in her feelings because she knew that he was lying. So obviously in the end I had to tell her, because I can't insult her intelligence. And that's the only thing that I didn't like about this experience, is the fact that the children did know quite early, because Lily twigged. And then to have to go through that experience as well. So I didn't really like that. So I kind of do understand why people do wait till after like 12 weeks and so to tell the children. Anyway, let me get into the story. So that was fine. I was pregnant, and then I wasn't. So what's happened is, if I think back, so we're going to skip now. So obviously I must be very early at this point, because the test is saying 1 to 2 weeks. I went and had was I getting my HGCs done back then? No, I wasn't having my HGCs done. So what's happened is, we're going to skip forward to about week 6. And one day I was in bed as usual. Now, I didn't really have much symptoms per se. Usual, feeling really tired and fatigued. We were going down to Cheetham Hill one day, and I wanted calamari. So I had some calamari, battered calamari. and it just made me feel ill. Now, I love calamari, but it just made me feel really sickly. But other than that, it was fine. So I didn't even feel pregnant, to be honest. I didn't at all. I felt fine, especially when you're comparing it to Winter May's pregnancy. I'm going to do a separate video on hyperemesis. So I was fine. One morning I woke up during the week now. I think it was like, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday. And I felt kind of wet down there. So I went to the toilet, and then my husband goes, Leash, you're bleeding. When we looked, if I can find the picture, because I took a picture so I could show it to the hospital, I'm going to insert the picture. I'm going to have to search through my laptop and see if it's there. There was a patch around this big of blood. And it was on the sheet. And then when I pulled back the sheet, it seeped to the mattress. Now, even when I'm on my period, I don't bleed like that and leak out on the bed like that. I really don't. So I went to the toilet. And I went to wipe, but there wasn't much blood. So it was like it was just one big bleed. There wasn't much blood, but then throughout, so I called up the early pregnancy unit. They told me to come in, and they wanted to see my pad. Because obviously if you soak a pad, then obviously they're concerned. But because my pad wasn't soaking and it was not really blood, it was like a little bit of spotting here and there, but it was quite like pink. It wasn't really blood. So they were like, well, bleeding in pregnancy is common. Now, I've never had that before. With Lily May and Winter May, I didn't have no form of bleeding. Once you were pregnant, there was no bleeding until you gave birth. So maybe every pregnancy is different. They said, oh, nothing really to worry about. We're going to take your blood, check your HGCs and see what's happening. They asked me about all these different symptoms. So at the time, I was getting some, I won't say sharp pains. I was getting some twinges in my left hand side. Pause. Why am I pointing to my right side and telling you guys left side? Am I okay? I had twinges on my right side, guys. Let's get back to the video. Side of like my pelvis, but nothing alarming for me to be like, oh, it's pain, I need paracetamol. Now, I'm going to just say something, because when you read online and you watch other people's videos on YouTube about ectopic pregnancies, they display the classic signs and symptoms of ectopic pregnancies. And I'm here to let you know that my signs and symptoms were not your textbook signs and symptoms. So I'm hoping that this spreads a little bit of awareness that not all what you read in Google or what they tell you is, I'm not saying it's not correct, but it might not always apply to you. So it took a little bit for them to realise that I was having an ectopic pregnancy after numerous scans, but I'm going to get there. So even though I had some pelvic pain, it's not nothing major, because when your uterus is stretching, you get like aches and pains and stuff. So I told them that I'm getting a bit of pain now and again, like on my right side. And they were like, are you getting shoulder tip pains, or are you getting like diarrhea, or are you getting erectile shooting pain? Now, I experienced that about twice, but not, say like I had it today and then didn't have it again till maybe next week. Do you get me? Where you're like, oh, and then it stops. So I did have that, but not when I first went in, when I first seen the blood. That came when they were monitoring me weeks later. So because she weren't really concerned based on my signs and symptoms, she just said, you know what? People do bleed through the pregnancy, and that might be just your one big bleed. And because you're not a person that has heavy periods, you might not bleed as heavy as somebody else. So you might just have this one big bleed, and then that's it. It could be implantation and stuff like that. So that kind of settled my nerves a little bit. But initially when I went there, I didn't think ectopic. I just thought miscarriage, even though it is like a form of miscarriage, but I didn't think ectopic. So checked my HCGs, and they were like over 1,500 or something. So she was like, well, you're definitely pregnant, and you know, we can do you a scan, but we're going to keep monitoring you. So when they done my scan, because of the bleeding, they scanned me but couldn't see anything. And they were like, when was the last time you had a period? Maybe earlier than you think, because we can't really say anything. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring you back in a week's time. Went back in a week's time. They still couldn't really say anything, but my HGCs are going up. So now they're monitoring my HGCs every 2 days, every 48 hours they're monitoring it. And they are going up significantly. However, not quite doubling. So they weren't creeping up, say, for example, from 1,500 to 1,600. They were still going up, like where they should have been over 3,000, there might have been 2,005. Does that make sense? So they were going up significantly, but not quite doubling. So once they got a pattern of my HCCs not quite doubling, they then were like, right, this could be ectopic, because we're scanning you and we can't see where the pregnancy is, but we know there's a pregnancy somewhere because your HGCs are letting us know that you are very pregnant. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this is new. So on my final scan that I had done, they finally found it in my fallopian tube. And do you know what's so crazy? That fetus had, what would you call it when it's so early? Anyway, you get the drift. The baby had a fetal pole, but in the fallopian tube. So a live fetal pole, but in the fallopian tube. And they were able to see it after I think on my third scan. So at that point, I was there when they were waiting for my bloods to come back. I'm there in the waiting bit, you know, on the canteen bit, getting snacks and stuff from the machine, eating away. Obviously, I couldn't leave the hospital. I didn't plan that I was going to have to stay, because obviously I didn't know. So I just went there for the scan, and then they were like, nope, we're going to have to do emergency surgery. When's the last time I ate? I said, just a minute ago in the canteen. What did you have? So they were like, right, well, we're going to have to wait a further 4 hours because you've just ate something, so we won't be able to do surgery. So my husband was like, he had to go and do the school run. There was nobody to have the children, so there had to bring the children. He had to bring the children to the hospital. And then obviously I had to explain to him that, oh, mummy's got to have surgery because we're not having a baby anymore and whatever. And I explained it to them and they were fine. So the consultant came into the room and says, we were going to take you down to surgery tonight. However, because your signs and symptoms, let me skip back. They've done an internal, and usually if you're experiencing ectopic pregnancies, when they do the internal, because it's so painful, half of the time they can't even complete the internal. But I sat down through that internal and they were like, can you not feel that? Does that not hurt? Does that not hurt? I was like, no, because I felt fine. I kid you not, I felt fine. I felt okay. Apart from feeling nauseous because your HGCs are making you feel sick, I felt fine. So they were like, do you know what? Based on your observations, I feel like we can do your surgery in the morning or tomorrow at some point. Because your obs are fine and you don't seem like you're at risk right now. So, you know, we do have some women that are more higher priority. So we can do it. So I was like, whatever. And then he just so happened to say to me, do you know what? Let me just double check with my senior that he's happy with this plan. And then I'll come back and let you know what the plan is. Bearing in mind, I still got to stay in. I won't be able to go home because I've got to monitor because I'm having an ectopic. Now, I'm skipping. Let me go back. Because as I'm speaking to you, I've not pre-planned this video. I'm just literally telling you the story, which is what most of my videos are like anyway. Prior to them deciding that they're going to give me surgery, they sat me down when they came into the room after the examination, after the internal, and they said to me, right, these would have been the options. One of the options would have been giving you the naproxen, and that what that does is I think they give it to cancer patients. It kind of kills the cells to die down, stops the baby from growing anymore, and then the body will expel it that way. And that way you're able to save the tube the best way they can, because it's just killing the cell. Now, I was like, yep, I'll take that. Because obviously, I want to keep my tubes. I don't want nobody taking no tube. I was born with them. I want to die with them. So, anywho, I was like, yeah, I'll take that. He was like, yes, but unfortunately, you're over the threshold. I was like, what do you mean? Well, you can't have HGCs over 5,000 to have the naproxen, and your weight over 5,000. I think I was on like 7,000 or something. I said, excuse me? What was the point in even telling me the option? Secondly, I was really annoyed because they dragged it out for weeks. From the moment I had that bleed, please, you're taking too long. Like, stop bringing me back in every 2 minutes for scans and taking blood. Like, seriously, something's clearly wrong with the pregnancy, and you knew that 2 weeks prior. And every day, the HCCs are going up. Do you understand? Just do what you need to. If they'd done it earlier, I would still have my tube now. But they're dragging the feet. They were taking too long to come to that diagnosis. So anyway, now I've got to have my tube removed. Because there won't be. At this point, guys, I literally cried like a baby. I literally cried because it's one thing that I've got PCOS, and then now you want to take my tube. So then, if I ever wanted to have another pregnancy in the future, how's that looking for me? I literally cried. And you know, because I was hormonal as well, I literally cried. Like, I kid you not. I cried like I was 5 years old. I really was feeling sorry for myself. I had a why me moment. Do you know when you just look up to the sky and start asking God, like, why me? Like, why me? But then, to be fair, why anyone? Do you know what I mean? Why should anyone have to endure that? But let's get back to it. I won't be able to save the tube because it highlights that for them to scrape out the baby with fetal pole, how they're going to do it without damaging the tube anyway. So I was like, okay. So let me skip back to where I was. He went and spoke to his senior, and the senior doctor, it was a foreign man, he was just like, no, we're going to operate on her tonight. And thank God he was on shift, and thank God he went and got the first guy went and got a second opinion, because I'm going to get to why I say that. So anyway, went down to the ward, they gowned me up, they came and took me for surgery around 10 o'clock in the night. And I've never had surgery so late. And I don't know, I've had so many different surgeries. Honest to God, I've been put to sleep numerous times. But this time was that bit different. I've never felt fear like it. And like I said, I've been put to sleep and had surgery so many times. But it just was different this time. I don't know. When they were wheeling me down the corridor, I noticed things that I wouldn't normally notice. So, for example, like, the paintings on the wall, the person walking down the corridor, the signs. And where I was, that theatre was closed during the night. So they had to take me all the way over to the new part, because I was in the old part. They had to take me over to the new part of the hospital. So the journey was quite long. And in my mind, I was thinking, why am I feeling like this? Why am I seeing all these things? Is this a sign that I'm going to die and I'm not going to come out of surgery alive? Because why is my mind running wild? Literally, like I was a nervous wreck. I was shaking and everything. It was just very different experience. So anyway, took me down to theatre. I'm just going to skip forward. Put me to sleep, and they removed my fallopian tube. Right. So I came back up to my ward in the night, and the doctor that done my surgery came round around 2 a.m. And I couldn't sleep, by the way, because I was scared. I felt like if I close my eyes, I'm going to die. That's how I felt. I was shook. I didn't get to sleep that night. I needed to stay awake to ensure that I was still alive. I was scared. So anyway, I'm going to insert some pictures if I can find some as well of when I was in the hospital. So when I came round, I FaceTimed, obviously, my husband, my auntie and my mum, and let them know I was out of theatre and stuff like that. I didn't really feel much pain. It weren't that major. And they just done an incision like on my right side. No, my left side. I think my belly button and somewhere else. Just little keyhole surgery. And the surgeon came round to tell me how my surgery went. And he says to me, do you know what? Thank God that I decided to operate on you tonight, because if we left it till tomorrow, it would have been a different story. I was like, what do you mean? It was like, because when I went inside, you was bleeding internally, which obviously they didn't know until he went inside. It didn't show up on my scans that I had that day. Bearing in mind, I had a scan that day. I remember they kept me in. That says, you know, and this is why sometimes with these situations, the patient doesn't display any urgencies based on their symptoms and their observations, but I don't like to take that risk. And he was a foreign man. He was like Turkish or something. And he was like, this is the reason why I wanted to operate tonight and not wait till tomorrow, because, you know, it's a very serious situation, and internal bleeding would have caused you to die, because the tube was starting to erupt, which I had no peep. And I do know someone that did pass away because the tube erupted and she didn't make it. And I know somebody else that also experienced ectopic pregnancy, and their symptoms were completely wild, like couldn't walk, bleeding everywhere, pain after pain, literally. But me, I was like how I'm talking to you now. So he was just saying, like, he's so happy that he done my surgery, because the internal bleeding, what happened is, because it was still a live fetal pole, the baby was still growing, my tube was erupting, was bursting, because it's only a small space, isn't it? So I was really thankful for him. I was thankful that he was on shift, and I'm thankful that he saved my life. So yeah, so he said, unfortunately, we couldn't save the tube. We had to take the tube away, because I think sometimes they'll try and clear the tube out and try and save your tube, but they weren't able to save mine. So yeah, that was my ectopic pregnancy story. It's very short, because it wasn't a long pregnancy. And it was kind of, I was pregnant today and not tomorrow, and it just happened all so quick. But I'm just a firm believer that God knows what he's doing, and nothing's before its time, and what's for me will never pass me. Well, who knows what the future holds, but I'm going to leave it there. If there's anything else that I remember, I'll try and add it into the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And like I said, there's going to be a further 3 parts to this series of my miscarriage journey. And I hope to see you in the next video. Ciao for now.